Greetings and welcome to another episode of Soul Citizen. This is episode 83, Industrial Strength Endeavor. Here with me I have Jade, Kelosal, and Dorian Skyphire. Let's start with our guest. Dorian, how are you? Where can people find you?
Hey, I'm great, and I want to thank you guys for inviting me to be on to talk about the best part of Soul Citizen. And they can find me on Discord. They can find me under my name on Spectrum. I'm the org leader for IU, the Interstellar Order of the Lees, which is a science and industry org. So I'm always down to talk about science and the Endeavor.
Cool. And to my left is, my left here, Jade. Tell us about yourself real quick.
Hello, I'm Jade, aka Jade Starwatchr, and I am very much into the science and exploration aspects of Star Citizen. I am part of an exploration org called Exile. You may have heard of us from Daymar Rally and Hurston Hurtlocker winning fame. And I'm a Soul Citizen and have been since this summer.
Cool. And we have the Sith Lord himself, Kelosal. Tell people about yourself.
Hey guys, welcome back. Welcome me back. It's been a while. You know, we're on vacation right now, so I'm not teaching the babies anymore, but at least for the time being. But I'm usually with. Oh, nice. Got a nice subscribe.
Spartan, thank you for the subscription. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the subscription. So with Test Squadron.
Hey, thanks for the subscription.
There's Whammer. Missed you, buddy. So I'm with Test Squadron. Jade, missed you. I'm glad to be back with you. Dorian, it's a pleasure as always. fastcart as always. But I just want to go ahead and talk about the Endeavor. I can't wait, but I also want to support my team, the Rowdies. Tampa Bay once again exhibits its championship status. The Rowdies are in the championship USL finals against Orange County. You can watch that on Sunday on ESPN, nationally televised. Go Rowdies. Come on, you Rowdies.
Go Rowdies. I'm glad to be back with you too, Kelosal.
Is that a sport thing? I'm not. No, I'm kidding. One Flame. Thank you for the first time chatting. Welcome to this show in Soul Citizen. This is episode 83. Yeah. So wow, it's been quite a few episodes. But yeah, today we'll talk about the Endeavor. So I'm going to start off with the introduction to the Endeavor.
Thanks for the
Masashi
follow.
Industrial and thank you for the follow. Masashi Industrial and Starflight Concern is proud to present the Endeavor-class research vessel, a fully modular space platform designed to be adapted for a variety of scientific and medical tasks. Initially developed as a floating laboratory, the Miss Endeavor can be outfitted for everything from facial telescopy to use as a mobile hospital. Telescopy was a new word for me, so I tripped over it for a couple of times. But let's get started. Talk about the Endeavor. Let's start with Dorian. When did you first hear about the Endeavor? What made you interested in it?
I've been following it since probably a couple weeks after it concepted. The Endeavor was actually the ship that motivated me to start backing the game actively. I started buying in, and that was the beginning of my fall financially. I love the idea of science and research having an impact on the gameplay, and the Endeavor is going to be the ship that has the most significant impact on gameplay in Star Citizen once they have all those gameplay loops sorted out, because we'll be finding jump points from systems away. We'll be overclocking components and shields, and discovering new / ancient technologies. It's let alone all of the medical gameplay and cybernetics, and it's going to have absolutely the most profound impact on the game. And I just really am in love with that idea.
So you said this made you back. This was back in 2015, around September or October?
Yeah. I think it came out in late September, early October, and I want to say it was around Thanksgiving of 2015 that it hit my radar, and that's when I became obsessed with the game and started backing at that point.
Cool, thank you. Jade, how about you? Who made you? What do you like about the Endeavor? When did you get it?
Well, I got mine in 2017 during this time of year, during the IAE or anniversary sale, I believe it was.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I'm interested because it is so versatile, and this is really one of the things I'm most interested in Star Citizen is scientific research and all the different ways that the Endeavor can support that, which we'll talk about soon.
Cool, thank you. And Colossal?
Okay, so I'm looking it up because I know I got the ship when we got those packages. But I saw when it originally came out on concept, I was all over the ship. I called it the dark horse of all the ships. Because once again, yes, we know that it's geared towards scientific and medical tasks, but it basically says the Endeavor can be outfitted for everything.
Right.
Everything.
Except for
Right?
combat.
Well, hold on. We'll get to that part because they did say that they had in early stages a defense module that
Yep.
they still were
Okay.
scouring over. So
They
that's one thing that. Go ahead, Dorian.
I was just going to say the defense module is the one thing they talked about that we haven't seen yet. So these Colosal's 100% spot on. I don't think it's going to be a warship though, because it says defensive module, not offensive. But there's a lot more we have yet to see on this ship. I guarantee it.
Right, and they were
Mm.
talking about those in reference to the turrets, right?
Yes.
So
A PDS system, I believe, is what it was going to be.
correct. So it's going to be interesting if they do decide to go ahead and give us that. But once again, I was very, very interested in it because once again, I consider it to be the dark horse of all the ships. I love ships that can do a lot of things. You get all these people saying, "Hey, we got this ship. Why can't it do this? Why can't it do that?" And they're like, "This ship is specifically designed for that." But this particular ship, I believe, would be able to allow you to do a little bit more. And I'm encouraged to see that, and that's part of the reason why I definitely had this ship as number one of all of my entire fleet. This ship was number one.
Me too.
Yeah.
For me, I backed Star Citizen in 2014. This concept in 2015, around this time, as was previously stated. This, I think, between this and the Merchantman is when I got is what put me over into Concierge, because this is 350 and Merchantman was 250, and I had the other stuff. Yeah, this was what put me over the hump, as people like to say. But I like the gameplay, the potential gameplay. We'll talk about that in a bit. And the look of it, I thought it was cool, and it's exactly what I wanted to do in Star Citizen.
Right. And fastcart, to answer your question, I got this ship November 28, 2018.
2000. Oh, you were late then.
Well, I was late in purchasing because I had a strategy. I was purchasing the ships that I wanted, and the ships that I was going to get last was the Endeavor, the Pioneer, and the Idris. So that's the reason why I purchased it so late, because I definitely had this. I wasn't financially set in 2015 like I was in 2018.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's
Waiting
fair
until
enough.
2018 was actually a pretty good strategy because we also got crap. I can't remember which of the modules it was, but the Endeavor Master Set as of 2018 and since has had an additional module that did not come with the original Endeavor Master
They
Set.
had, I think, two bio modules, maybe.
Yeah, the biodomes. So it was 950 with one of those, and the module. You're actually saving a little bit if you buy the master set, because those the biodomes are, I think, $100, around $100 each, and it was $50 more for that module for the EMS with two of those. So you do save a little bit.
We'll get to that a little bit later on.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, and I wasn't going
problem.
to buy the Endeavor at all because that was going to be like my in-game ship to earn. And so when I did buy it, I only bought the base. I did not buy any of the modules because I want to earn them. I still want to earn them in the game.
Okay. Yeah, we'll talk more about the modules as they come up. But for now, we're going to cover the base. Dorian, do you have the doc up?
Yes.
Can you read the base description,
Sure.
please?
Sure. The Mythic Endeavor is one of the most unique ships in the Star Citizen universe and the ultimate embodiment of the game's guiding philosophy to allow players the freedom to choose their own path. Its signature feature is modular architecture that allows for an unprecedented level of customization of the base functionality, allowing the ship to fulfill any of a variety of different roles. The ability of an authorized dealer to promptly retrofit any of the 3 attachment points for nominal surcharge means that owners will have the flexibility to quickly and cost-effectively make large, sweeping changes to the core functionality of their ship, and thus much more easily shift from one occupation to another as often as they desire.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, I put a couple of links in the Twitch chat. So Jay, you got the base obviously, but
Yeah.
what are your thoughts about it? Oh, this, and Griffin is showing a animation that we got from Starjump. You want to say thank you to Starjump for providing these visuals. They did an Endeavor episode a few weeks ago, and they were kind enough to let us use them. So yeah, so the base module. What are your thoughts, Jay?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's an extensible platform, and this is a great animation by Starjump, as all of theirs are. As you can see there, you have like a detachable exploration, module. It's similar to like the saucer section, I guess, in Star Trek. So it's like, somewhat of a call out to it. And one of the things I'd like to talk about with regards to this, because we are talking about a science ship, that's its core thing, is the difference between applied science and basic science. So this ship will support both types of science, but the difference between them is basic science, and a lot of you already know this, is it's mainly concerned with understanding our natural world, our universe, the fundamental forces of our universe, and how they affect everything around us. And basically, it exists to answer questions that we have, fill in gaps in knowledge, but it's not really concerned with how that is then later applied. And that's where applied science comes in. And that is basically taking information that's gathered already through basic science research and applying it to a problem. So like a good example would be like landing a rocket booster, right? Like, SpaceX. A good analogy is Spock versus Chekhov. So Spock would be basic science and Chekhov would be applied science. So applied science we often call engineering.
That's a brilliant analogy.
It is. And Jake, could I ask you a question? Would that relate to one of the modules like the Super Collider?
Yes, absolutely. That's why I brought this up, because when we really dive into this, this is going to make a lot of understanding what these may do and what CIG has said they'll do, because there's a lot of information, or there's not a lot of information about this ship, but there's a lot of theory crafting around it. So I think if we start with that framework of just what science is and the two main different types of science, we can then use that sort of to guide us into understanding what CIG's thinking may be along these lines.
The Panther brought it to what I was going to say. Jade, that's a 50-year-old show. You couldn't even you couldn't at least do TNG. You had to bring it all the way back to TOS to check off in Spock.
I used that because I know the crowd, right? You gotta read the room, right? But I think everybody that's into Star Trek has probably seen at least a little bit of the original series. So
True enough. Kelosal, what do you thought about?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead, fastcart.
No, I was going to say, Kelosal, what do you thought about the base?
I mean, that's the package that I bought. I mean, I wish I would have, purchased a different set, but once again, I was in a different financial state at that time. To emphasize on Jade's point about Star Trek, that's exactly what they intended with the Endeavor, especially the engineering section and things like that, where the engineer can go ahead and work on the engineering components and do everything, emergency shutdowns and all that stuff in the engineering section. They sat there and said that in the Q&A, and Q&A number 1, by the way, if you're interested. So I'm glad to see Jade definitely throwing that Star Trek reference in, because they did spec this ship based off of that. I did get the base. wasn't aware at the time because I was so laser focused on getting the Endeavor.
Mhm.
There were other pieces or other packages. So I suffered that $70 hit, but that's all right. I'll take it. But yeah, I mean, I'll take what I have with the ship because I love the ship.
It's not so bad to have an extra Endeavor laying around because the Endeavor Master Set can only fit so many modules at once. So if you have an EMS, buy a few extra just plain Endeavor cabs so you can field more things at once. If you're wanting to be a Grand Titan of science.
Yeah, one could
I
be a
know.
hospital, and the other would be
Yeah.
your science, pure science.
My hope is that when they reconcept this or come back to this, my hope is that they'll reexamine the two module or the limit of the module and allow us to apply more modules to one base rather than just having the two or perhaps at most three. But yeah,
Yeah,
I hope
I honestly would be stunned if they don't. I
talked
really
about it.
will.
Yeah, they did talk about it in the Q&A, but they said that the size would be the issue, right? They would have to scale something down in order to fit a third particular module, depending on what type of module you would have. So
they're gonna
those
have to
things
bring
are
it.
in the works.
It's
They're
going
gonna
to
have
grow,
to make
though.
that thing bigger anyway, because all the things changed in the 6 years since the concept. But we're going more into that in a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But Dorian, so this thing had the base is when they separate. The front compartment only has like a quantum drive. It doesn't have a jump drive.
It does not have jump drive.
So it needs to be connected in order to jump. You think that's a problem?
No, I think it's actually really well designed. The forward cab is meant to be able to land on a planet, whereas the actual platform itself is not. This is going to be basically a mobile space station. No matter what modules it has equipped, it's a mobile space station. But the forward cab is meant to land. The forward cab, or the Explorer cab, I'm sorry, I always call it the forward cab. The Explorer cab is also designed to go into the corona of a star and conduct some exotic energy research. Which is something obviously the entire platform wouldn't be able to do. So the Explorer cab has a lot of versatility, but it's designed to have limited function without the entire platform.
Okay, thank you. All right. So next up, we have the Biodome module. Jade, do you have the doc up?
I do.
Can you
So
read the Biodome?
absolutely. As long as humanity expands outward into the galaxy, there will always be a need for the most basic elements that sustain it. The Endeavor's biodome pods were designed to support ongoing agriculture operations, adapting and growing foodstuffs, which can then be sold for a profit. And there's a limit of 2 sets, and there are 2 domes per ship.
And the size is 2x1 for each one.
Yes.
So does anyone have the Biodome module?
Yes. I have several EMS, so I've got it all.
Oh, you do. And so let's go Kelosal first. What do you think you're going to do with the Biodome module?
Everything from space suite to space suite to space suite. I mean, I planned basically to provide remember when we had those hangar modules and we got those plants that everybody was getting, and everybody was getting them in those nice little containers and things like that and so forth, and then all of a sudden that just went away. So I was really, really enthused with that. I'm a civics guy.
Thanks for the follow.
Thanks for the follow, Frankie.
Thanks, buddy. But I love science as well, and I like to always trade things, and I like to always go ahead and manufacture things. And I wanted to see what I could do to improve certain products or make sure that people had the certain materials necessary to go ahead and survive. After all, it's a medical ship. So can you take an herb? Can you take a tree, a sample? Can you grow this product? Does it have to be grown in space? Can it be grown near a chronosphere? Can it be grown in atmosphere? Can, things like that I want to go ahead and check and explore on. And I'm one of those types of people to where if you give me a book and it's blank, what can I do to go ahead and figure out how this works and how that works and what type of improvements. So I wanted a biodome so I can go ahead and grow some things, because I felt that there were some things that you could go into and a different area like Sol, and they may not have the resources that you're growing in Sol in the entire solar system. So that was one reason why I purchased that.
Would very much like to have more information on these, because I could see so much potential for these biodomes. Yes, you can create a farm to grow things for us, but I also started thinking about if they want to do like exobiology or xenobiology, right?
Yep.
And these could be basically little biomes which you then, preserve alien plants and maybe even fauna. Now you have a potential flying zoo. Right? It's like there's so many ways they could go with this. They could put in enhanced hydroponics and release the 420 module.
Yep.
Or you could have you could make it like a nightclub and have a disco ball in there and just party. Like I believe it was Rain Cloud. He said you pull up to next to an Endeavor and you have the base from the Endeavor just counting into your ship, into your years. So yeah, there's plenty of uses for Biodome. But my question for
radio, I fully endorse the base.
My question for Dorian, you said you had one, right? You have all of them.
Yes.
So what are your intentions with it?
Well, I think that we're going to find that these have a lot more use than we're thinking of right now. These are going to supposedly support biomes for all life forms, which also includes underwater. So we may be able to fill them up with water and grow exotic seaweed that we find on another world. We'll be able to use these to plant, to support plant life that we may already know, but we may discover that if we, as Kelosal had mentioned, corona, taking these close to the corona of a star, maybe plants that we already know that are raised under a different star type. They could create medicinal or biological properties that are unknown to us right now, but could have legitimate medical, pharmaceutical, or recreational use. So I think that we need to look at these with much more broader minds, because we're also looking at things like carbon-based life forms. What's to say we don't find silicone-based life forms? So these will be able to support ecosystems that we can't even fathom right now. So I'm really, really excited about this, because this has almost infinite potential.
Absolutely. Good point.
Yeah, I currently, and I don't plan on getting the Biodome module, but I do appreciate its potential and future uses. I think this is, as far as modules go, I believe this one will probably get bigger than what the animation we currently see. I think it could probably get a lot bigger. So how many people do you think will be required or need to operate these biodomes?
It's hard to say. I mean, now that we have Imperator Addison, a lot of this stuff could probably be automated. And
Yes.
yeah, so I think that, we talked about AI blades even before the Imperator election. And I think something like this, I mean, right now there's, in our real world, there's a lot of research going into closed loop life support systems. So I don't see this as requiring a lot of people, but if it does, maybe a few NPCs. I don't know that you would need a lot of people to run these.
Yeah, I think it depends on the nature of the project you're running. Some could very easily become very personnel intensive, and some you could pretty much run on autopilot with some good AI. I think it's going to depend entirely on the nature of what you're doing with it.
True. Yeah. I mean, if you're like going to have to harvest crops, and that may require a lighter touch than if you're going to.
Yeah.
have robots, or whatever.
Okay. All right. So next up, we have the fuel pod. Kelosal, can you read the fuel pod for me, please?
Absolutely. The fuel pod, the Endeavor fuel pod, takes up a minimum amount of space to add additional fuel for long duration missions. Effectively a large drop tank, the fuel pod is typically used by Endeavor crews venturing further into the unknown. Interesting.
Okay, so Dorian has everything. Jade, do you have the master set? Do you have everything?
Yes, I have several of the master sets.
Huh.
I think the fuel pod is really interesting to me because so we know that the ship is obviously going to need fuel for quantum and jump drives, but we don't know what the power source is going to be to fuel the platform itself. So is the fuel pod, I'm really curious to see how that's going to work. If the fuel pods are going to be something exclusive to the engines, or if it's going to be something we can use to actually power the research platform itself. And honestly, I feel like the fuel pod is something that should become a permanent addition. To the Endeavor when they decide to do the rework. I'm really hoping the fuel pod becomes the permanent add-on because it just makes me uncomfortable to think about a ship running out of fuel out in the middle of space.
Well, here's the kicker on that one. They may not do that, Dorian. You make a good point, but I believe they may have answered that in terms of comparing the Endeavor to the Carrack.
Yes.
They basically, they were given, pros and cons with the Endeavor versus the Carrack. And one thing that it gave a negative about the Endeavor was it lacks range.
Yes.
It lacks range. So
well,
I think go ahead.
Oh, no, please continue. I have a bad habit of interrupting.
No. I was saying that, and I know it's Jade's turn. So I was just thinking that that's probably the intent, not to give it that. They're probably just going to go ahead and squash all of our feelings on that one, because once again, they want the Endeavor is basically an exploration, and everybody's jumping on, well, what about the explorer part of the ship for the Endeavor? And they're saying, yeah, but that's great, but here's what the Endeavor is good at, and this is what the Endeavor is not good at compared to the Carrack, and long range is one of the issues.
I do think that this ship, like the Hair Flatiron ship, the Redeemer, may end up being given a tighter focus, right? Because I don't think CIG really wants a ton of overlap. So this, you have a Carrack, it's a great exploration ship. This might be able to do some exploration, but I think it's going to probably be more science and research focused. When they get around to it, like sort of how they dropped the dropship part of the Redeemer. You still can drop people from it, but it's a much more capable gunship than dropship.
Right.
And I feel like this is meant for long range exploration. With it's meant to explore from a system over. It's not meant to be first contact exploration like the Carrack, which is an armored military vehicle basically.
Right.
So they can have the same purpose, but just because something can do something doesn't mean it's going to be good at it. So I agree completely with that point.
Right. Good point.
Thank you.
Jade, we can't go one episode without mentioning the Flatiron. We can't.
Hey, I mean, it's on the showroom floor right now. All of you who have not seen it and gone to the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo, do yourself a favor. Go see it. Go rent it. Fly it around. Shoot the guns. But yeah.
There are a lot of people who love that ship.
Absolutely. And they've been waiting. I mean, they voted for it and they've been waiting for a while. So, but anyway, back to the Endeavor.
Yeah, they're back to the Endeavor. The Octopus, thank you for the raid for the whole 193 people. Welcome everyone from the Octopus stream. We're talking about the Endeavor, industrial strength, and we're talking about the fuel pod modules at the moment. My question for Jade is, do you have the master class or do you buy modules separate?
I have not bought the master set. I won't, and I'm not even going to buy a module. I've considered it every year at this time. I consider buying a
Thanks
module,
for the
and I'm
follow.
sticking to, because I wasn't going to buy this ship at all. This was going to be my in-game ship to earn in the game, and I had a weak point. And I'm like, okay, I'll just get the base, and then I'll earn all the mod. That'll still give me that thing to work towards.
I want to thank everyone for following and subscribing, and first time chatter, Kavian and with space. Thank you for watching us. So same for you, Kelosal. You do not have the master class yet, right?
I did not get the master set, but I bought every module except except for the Super Collider, because the Super Collider only comes with the master set. So I have everything except for that. But
I bought the Super Collider separate. That's one of the two modules that I do have.
did you?
Yeah, I think it tells like $125 to $150.
Yeah, I guess that the year when it came around, the Super Collider was not available for me,
Thanks
and
for the
unless I missed
subscription.
it,
Okay.
it just was not available. But in 2018, by the way. So maybe I'm
Okay.
wrong. Maybe I just completely missed it. But I was looking
Oh yeah,
for that.
maybe same thing because I got mine in 2016. So yeah.
Yep. Thanks,
All right.
Stunner. Appreciate it.
Thank you for Mr. MT Stunner for the 5 subscription. Appreciate it. And everyone say thank you who got the subscription to them.
Hey,
Appreciate it.
thanks for the subscription.
Thank you, Whammer.
Hey, you can always borrow half of my stuff. It doesn't matter. I already got somebody saying that they'll let me rent their Super Collider. Rent? I can get it for free. Not even for a quarter. But but yeah, Jay,
You'll just use it for a while and give it right back, right?
Likewise,
I'll get right back. Get right back.
anybody can borrow and use my endeavor. Being a belter, the more you share, the more your bowl will be plentiful. So
Good.
So next up, we have the general research module. Dorian, you're up again. Can you read that for us, please?
Sure. The General Research Pod, GRP, is intended as a multi-use facility that can support a variety of active scientific pursuits: microscopy, zero-gravity experiments, biological studies, and the like. With internal slots for precision scanners, sample and specimen collections, spectrometers, and chemical analyzer, the GRP is capable of cataloging new experimental data as well as producing cutting-edge compounds. Note, the GRP is intended for legal experimentation as authorized by the UEE only.
Legal.
They had to
So,
throw that
Jay,
word
this is-
legal in there, didn't they?
But
Yeah.
what you do
So, Jay,
outside of non-UE space is up to you.
that's right.
So, Jay, this is your wheelhouse, the research and science stuff for research specifically. Can you give us some examples of something you would probably research?
So for this module, I would say probably more so for me would be the telescope module, but this is tied in. I mean, because this will be the hub for all of these other, pure science modules. So this module will support the telescope module. It will also support the particle accelerator, right? So
Thanks for the
what
follow.
this will be used for is analytics. So you can look at the telescope module and the particle accelerator as things that do things that bring in information. And this you could look at as like the CPU of your endeavor if you're doing the science track and not the medical track necessarily.
I thought that was more towards the general science module. I thought this was more like, the hands-on applications, not necessarily the processing of the raw data. This is part of the data gathering work.
You're right. I was reading that general science module.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. I wasn't calling you out. I was just clarifying.
Yeah. So the research module. Okay. This is great. So like this is a lab, right? So they mention a microscope. They mention doing 0G experiments. Think of like a lot of the research they do on the current International Space Station, biological studies. You'll bring in specimens to this, and it's going to also, have spectrometers and chemical analyzers. So maybe you can do some mineralogy that might help, mining even. Like you're not going to mine, but you might be able to find a way to get a better yield from something using the spectrometers and chemical analyzer.
Well,
Thank you.
That's-
Oh, by the way,
that's-
I neglected to mention that if we're taking real questions, so if you have a question, click the solar eclipse down below, below the chat box to ask a question.
But there's one more part of this where it says producing cutting edge compounds. I just want to say if anybody hasn't looked at the list of commodities on the Star Citizen tools, please do so, because there's some real futuristic like compounds that are in use in the UEE. And when I look at this, I think of those things, like things that we don't have in our present day. Maybe this can help to sort of develop compounds like that you can then go sell.
Do they have unobtainium?
Well, Quantanium kind of sort of.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine. Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead, Kelosal.
I'm interested to see what other things that you can be done, because I know it comes in with this nice little marker that says, intended for legal experimentation, authorized by the UEE only. I mean, okay, so fine. But what if I decide to go ahead and go to Pyro and I want to go ahead and make Widow? If I want to go ahead and research that and use that along with the biodomes or things like that and so forth. I mean, will I be able to go ahead and make Widow and sell it? So I'm encouraged to see that type of gameplay sneak right on in, because you don't have to be with the UEE.
That's right.
Yep.
So
Go ahead.
no, I was just saying that it's so those you people that are out there that are anti-government and things like that, this would be a good field for you.
Well, there's a difference between being anti-government and anti-UEE, because I mean, the People's Alliance of Levski technically is a government. But yeah, like you might develop better strains of whatever botanicals that you're working on in those biodomes.
Mm-hmm.
Dorian, you were you going to say something?
I was just going to say I'm excited about this module because this is going to be the heart of a lot of the impact that the Endeavor is going to have on gameplay at large. This is where we're going to do the research that helps us find new alloys. This is going to be where we connect the dots, for overclocking and making better shields or shield emitters. This is where we're going to do our carbon dating for xenoarchaeology. Assuming side note, carbon dating can have. It's going to be different world to world, and it's going to be impacted by things like, if atomic weapons have been used and, stuff like that. So I'm curious to see if they're going to have us learn that carbon dating curve for each world, but that's nerding out and nobody probably cares about that. But
I do have a question. So what gameplay would carbon dating provide in Star Citizen?
Xenoarchaeology, xenopaleontology, anything that you need to find out how old this organic material is, that's what carbon-14 dating is going to be for.
Okay.
So, but carbon, you're going to have to find that curve for every world that you take that from, and then you're going to have to understand, the influences of that world, because for the modern world, nuclear detonations, atomic bombs, pollution, where we have started adding carbon to the atmosphere than would naturally be occurring, those things all impact carbon-14 dating. So I'm very curious to see if they're going to get really into the minutia like that for each world, or if we're just going to have some magic woo-woo and it just automatically figures it out.
Oh, I hope they get into that.
I hope they do too.
Yeah. I just thought of something else very similar. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, it's just I want them to get into it, because I don't want science gameplay to basically require a Bachelor of Science to be able to figure it out. But I don't want it to be easy either. There should not be easy mode for the gameplay loops associated with this, because these are the things that will change the entire game. So I want them to make us sweat for it.
Absolutely. And I was thinking of another thing that this could be used for is fingerprinting. So like using the isotopic ratio, that's how we can tell like a meteorite's come from Mars versus one that's come from like, the main belt. What if we could use those spectrometers and chemical analyzers to find the isotopic ratio to figure out where a crime was committed? Right.
Yeah.
So like now you can be a detective, be like CSI Stanton, Yeah.
When you have an interstellar population, you're going to need, you're going to need that kind of technology, because it's going to be much harder to track things like that down.
Absolutely.
So, there's definitely law enforcement applications here too. and law breaking applications, depending on which side you want to play at and which star system you're playing at.
True. All right. So next up, we have General Science module. Jade, landing on you for this one. Can you give us? Can you read that for us, please?
Yes. The General Science pod or General Science module is the Endeavor's analytic module with installation points for a variety of scientific computers and databanks. The GSP is oriented towards inward-facing processing of data gathered elsewhere, featuring extensive systems for turning the raw information gathered by the GRP and telescope array into valuable data for sale or trade.
Okay, so this and research module is Dorian and Jade wheelhouse. I'm going to start with Jade this time. So, what are your thoughts about the science module?
So yeah, this is what I'd started off talking about earlier, but this I look at almost like a CPU in your computer. Mm-hmm. This is where the information that's gathered from elsewhere will come in to be processed. That's why they say inward-facing processing. And if you look at like the particle accelerator or the telescope module as peripherals, then this is the CPU.
Cool. Kelosal, you have any thoughts about the GSP or GSM?
Yes, this is the GSP. This is the one that I'm looking for that I see in other games like Book of Travels and things like that, where they basically give you information where you have, and then you get to use that raw data to go ahead and gather and may help out your other modules like the GRP. That you have, like your general research module. So you can go ahead and basically tie in all of the information that you need to maybe make a specific unit, module, something, anything that you're trying to gather information on. Because, science is a bunch of, in order to, you got hypotheses and you got theories, and you want to go ahead and try to go ahead and solve this hypothesis, or else you go ahead and disprove somebody else's hypothesis, and you need to put fact A and fact B and fact C all together. So if you're trying to go ahead and develop something, or maybe you created a new element, right? So this GSP is definitely good for information that you see in other games that have taken that step for you to go ahead and find things without a book or without a website telling you these are the elements or components to make this item here. You're using this type of software, this type of system to gather that information. So I would be interested to see how Star Citizen does that, instead of just people generating, instead of Star Citizen saying these are the components that are available, for it to be a question mark, and we have to find the materials necessary using this module to gather everything that we need for that item.
Oh, a question for Kelosal before I get to Dorian, but question for Kelosal. So this says it's extensive system for turning raw data into valuable data for sale or trade. So would you be more into selling them and trading them, or would you want to keep all that data for yourself to be able to use?
I mean, it depends on what you're trying to do. A capitalist is not going to keep it to himself. He's going to go ahead and charge the highest price, for it, and try to get if a bang for every buck, and then just wish everybody good luck on what they do with that information. So if it was me and I was worried about money, I'm going to sell it, and I'm going to sell it for the highest price. Whatever you do with it, that's on you. I'm neutral.
Okay.
Do you mind if I jump in here?
Go ahead.
So, for everyone that's looking to sell, there has to be a buyer, right? Or there's no transaction. And in the Star Citizen universe, there's several potential big buyers of data from this module. The Imperial Cartography Center would be one that a lot of us are familiar with. Tessa from back in the day, the ICC probe. So that would be, information maybe on jump points gathered from the telescope module. But then we can also look at something like Synth World, where they might need specific components or compounds. And maybe that's why the Synth World is behind schedule, because they need more sciencing done, right? So that's where you come in, and that might be another potential buyer. And we also have a whole star system called Redor, which is full of universities. And, just as in our real world. Universities do a lot of research, and they also, kind of sometimes outsource, some research. So maybe you are an independent researcher that's helping one of the universities in Red Orange. That they're another buyer potentially.
Right. And to add on to that, Jade, because you made a very good point here about buyers. You know, with the Endeavor, they have what they call an ID beacon with the Endeavor.
Yes.
And you can go ahead and broadcast, whether if you're selling or if you're there to if you dare to go ahead and support medical gameplay. So you can broadcast to the entire system or whatever, how far it may stretch. Maybe the telescope will help you out with that. That, hey, here I am in this area, and these are the things that I have, or things like that. Or you can be a little bit more promiscuous in terms of how you give out that beacon. But that's the good thing about the ship. It allows you to broadcast yourself with that ID beacon.
Absolutely.
Dorian, thank you for being patient. So what are your thoughts about the GSP?
No, I agree with all the points that have been made. I also wanted to point out that some of the buyers are going to be player organizations. You get information that could, you have two major alliances battling it out, and you get a piece of significant information. Who do you want to win the war, and how are they going to be grateful to you later? Things like that. But I'm also, this is going to be one of the first things I want to figure out how to overclock, because we're going to be completely dependent. We being the Endeavor owners, we need the more powerful and more efficient our GSMs are, the more powerful and efficient we are going to be. So this is going to be the thing I'm most interested in figuring out how to maximize as soon as we have this in game, because the better this is, the better and more influential I will be.
Yeah, I can imagine just someone trying to overclock this and just take it a bit too far and just get the blue screen of death. And I don't know if that'll brick it or would there be a way to reset it.
Well, if they brick it, that's when it's good to have LTI on that module.
That's the one thing I do, because I didn't get LTI on my module, but hopefully it shouldn't make that big of a difference.
And to point out, just a reminder, LTI is only going to be the module itself. Any enhancements we make are not covered, so we're going to have to recover all of that lost work ourselves. So you want to have redundancies. You want to have a secret place where you store all of your information, so you don't have to start all over just in case that does happen. So just a reminder.
And think about how big the ship is now, currently in the spec page. Think about how big it's going to be and how expensive it's going to be to run, and not just insure, but everything. Just making sure everything runs properly. How expensive do you think this thing is going to be in game?
Expensive. And that's why I had mentioned earlier when we were talking about the fuel pods, how I'm really curious to find out how these platforms are going to be powered. Are they going to have their own fuel source on the platform, or are we sharing fuel with the engines and the engines are powering it? I'm really curious to see how that's going to play out, because I think that's going to be really important also.
Very good point.
Okay. Kelosal, we have the medical bay module up. Can you read that, please?
All right, so the medical bay module. The medical bay pod is a large 2x2 set of attached rooms which operate effectively as a standing hospital, complete with operating theaters, recovery rooms, and more. The Endeavor's medical bay is intended to operate alongside the optional landing bay, ferrying patients from battlefields and disasters for treatment and recovery. Size 2x2.
So, do you intend to do any medical gameplay on yours, Kelosal?
Yeah, I do. I mean, like I said, I love the fact that, I mean, what this doesn't also tell you is there's 3 levels. There's 3 levels on this thing here. I mean, and everything can be done from field triage to basically, restart the heart, depending on the situation of the player. Respawning, field hospitals, medical reputation is attached with this. So if you're trying to improve your medical gameplay, here come the halos. And then of course that ID beacon, where you can go ahead and let people know that, hey, I know there's a battle going on, but I'm not here to be shot at. I'm here to pick up your dead, So so it reminds me of that.
Dead or wounded.
Yeah, and wounded. Absolutely.
And another important thing is this is going to be where we have player run cybernetics. So if you need the cybernetic enhancement, this is where you're going to go to get that.
Good point. Jay, do you have any thoughts about the medical bay pod?
I do. I feel like this is going to be a game changer for organizations that are in predominantly non-UE space, because medical facilities may become hard to come by, like really good medical facilities, let's say. So or any, exactly. So I really think orgs intend to operate outside the UE or exploration oriented, and are just going to be so far away from things, are going to want a endeavor with this module in the landing bay, which we'll discuss coming up.
Yep. Dorian, you have any further thoughts, or did you just cover everything you wanted?
No, I'm very curious to see how this is going to, what this is going to look like once it's in game. Just because this is obviously going to be used in a lot of battlefield situations. So I'm really curious what it's going to look like for people who respawn there. Are we selling them their gear? Because we already know that when you respawn in the gown. You're not respawning with your armor, weapons, the ship that you fly back to the fight in. So I'm really curious to see how all of that's going to play out, if we're going to have to keep an inventory of things so that we're not just respawning people, but we're also re-equipping. And then there comes into, if we're doing that and we're giving these people weapons, how do we maintain security on our own ship so that people just don't suicide somewhere and come in and take over our endeavor internally through a respawn in our medical base? So I'm very curious to see how that's going to play out and what that's going to look like, how it evolves.
I mean, they could control it the same way they do with. I mean, this is just a hint, CIG. Maybe you control the weapons the same way you on a medical ship, the same way you do with those new medical handables that basically
Hand tools.
tools, when people were basically drugging each other to death at the freaking safe areas. So maybe they take that option out. Maybe when you're on there, you cannot even have a weapon, because once again it's a medical facility.
I would love that, but I don't see CIG giving players any kind of arm zone that we can own.
Yeah,
I just don't see them letting us do that. So I think they're going to give us some solutions and let us kind of figure out how we're gonna, patch it all together and make it work. And so I would be curious. It's exciting, but a little nerve-wracking too.
So on the screen now, we see a cutaway from the, like you said, it's 3 stories. How much? I mean, this is like from 2015, as we keep saying, so the data is old. But how much change do you think it'll be when it really comes out? Like maybe 4 or 5 stories?
I think they should
Or just bigger?
It's definitely going to be bigger. I don't think it's going to, each module is necessarily going to become massively bigger, but I think they're going to become bigger. I'm just curious to see if they're going to make it take up more module points. But it'll definitely get bigger. That is the trend for everything Star Citizen. I don't think any ship has gotten smaller after coming through its rework.
Well, so some ships have gotten bigger, then gotten smaller, but they still remain bigger than if you were in a concept.
They remain bigger than concept. So the Endeavor is definitely going to become significantly bigger. I think. I don't know. I get hesitant about trying to guess how much bigger the modules get, because I could see the modules getting a little bit bigger, but my hope is that they give us more module points on the platform itself, instead of giving us much bigger modules that grow with the ship. I don't know if that makes sense, but I'd rather, at this point, it's all theory crafting and hopes and dreams, and and prayers.
Dracker Dog, thank you for the 1 month subscription to Jade Starwatchr. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, any other thoughts about the medical module? Okay, then.
Hold on to your britches, because this ship, basically, like I said, this ship is the dark horse of all ships. In order to have a medical bay, we're getting to the creme of all creme, which is a landing bay. So go ahead, fastcart.
Yeah, Dorian, can you read the landing bay pod, please?
Sure. The landing bay pod slings a single large hangar underneath the spacecraft and attaches it directly to other laboratory pods. Intended to support hospital operations, the landing bay has room to support multiple Cutlass Red ambulances and features complete decontamination facilities. Note that while the landing bay was designed to
Thanks
support
for the
ambulance
follow.
operations, it also functions alongside standard science modules and can support the upkeep of any sufficiently small spacecraft. Its size is 2x1, and there is a limit of 1 hangar module per ship.
And I just want to say thank you, Sweeton. I didn't catch the rest of the name for the follow. So yes, there's the hangar module on the screen right there. So this was originally set to house, I believe, 2 Cutlass Reds.
Yeah, they said multiple, so at least 2, but I think the implication was 3 or 4, maybe, but 2 for sure.
Yes, you can get up to 4 ships in there. Yes.
No, you could. I mean, that was before the Cutlass had its rework. Now, one barely fits in there. So, do you think when they have to reconcept it and comes out, do you think it'll just be 2, or do you think it'll still be like 3 or 4 maybe?
I think they're still going to stick with that that concept that for that Cutlass. So if the Cutlass got reworked, I mean, expect for the landing bay to be reworked. I mean, she's 30 meters wide by 65 meters deep by 10 meters tall. Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't pay any attention to that, honestly.
Right. I'm just saying, as far as the specs that we have, right? I'm not going to theory craft. I'm just giving you the specs that we have right now. So based off of that, and if they're saying that you can fit a Cutlass and possibly 2, you know, I mean, and there's even talk about, well, can you fit a ship and still have room for cargo? And based off of what they're saying, you know, yeah, you can fit a ship like a Cutlass in there. And if you got enough room for another ship and you just use that extra space for cargo, you can fit up to 4,500 SEU worth of cargo in that landing bay. This is from their Q&A.
Yeah, and that was true at that time, but that was when the Cutlass Red was also the only ambulance ship. I really feel like they're probably going to take this so that you can fit up to 4 Cutlass Reds after they're resized in there, or 2 Apollos is my guess. Because now that we have the Apollo, which is another good ambulance oriented ship, especially the medevac, which is kind of combat oriented. And it's got those the drones that can get the injured people in space and bring it into the ship. I feel like we're going to have room for those in that hangar, but this is all theory crafting. So I'm very sure. I think we can all agree it's going to get much bigger. We just don't have no idea how.
Jade, do you have any thoughts?
No, not really. But these were very good points, and yeah, I agree. I think that hangar module is going to probably get bigger, just based on the metrics that they used back then, as well as the new additions of like the Apollo.
Well, and the hangar module isn't just useful for the hospital. This ship is going to generate huge amounts of data, which means we're going to need room for data runners. So it's going to have to fit heralds, MSRs, any the Harbinger, or I'm sorry, the Sentinel. So any ship that we're using to move information around, it's also going to need to accommodate those too.
Yeah, I also think that in addition to that, people, you'd be surprised of how creative people can be. And if they're not going to use these ships to just go ahead and just be it as a landing bay, they're going to use it for additional storage space. For example, the whole cargo is standardized with this landing bay here. So this ship can actually carry the whole cargo in landing bay. Don't be surprised that people just use the landing bay as an additional hauler for hauling cargo.
Or ships. I mean, I could see people trying to get a bunch of arrows in there.
Or it's not a Star Citizen until people try and figure out how many Tonks or Cyclones they can cram in it.
And argue MPUVs.
This is what one of the module that they really went in depth with on Starjump on the episode. I believe Starjump Graham theorized that the Endeavor ship itself will probably go to like 400 meters, and with that, the modules will go inside to accommodate that. I'm of the opinion that the Endeavor will go inside. I don't see it becoming that big. It may become like maybe 300 or maybe 250, but I think the modules themselves will just become oversized to accommodate the other ships, like two cutlass threads and so on. No one disagrees with that.
Yeah, that's based off of the specs, it could happen, and they may not.
Yeah, I don't know if I think it'll hit 400 meters because that's pretty significant. I think it'll be 300 to 350. I mean, 400 would be great, but I'm right now.
Or
I think I could break into it. Yeah, yeah.
It's not going to be that much.
Yeah, no, I just don't see it being more than 350 meters. When I think about how expensive it's going to be to fuel that ship, it's. I don't want it to get too out of control big because that's a lot to defend and a lot to move.
All right, so next up we have the particle accelerator. I'm going to take this one because this is one of the modules that I actually have. So the particle accelerator, particle orbit, the most visually unique Endeavor module. The distinct circular super collider is actually one of the small piece of a more elaborate overclocking facility. The large modules include a pair of white rooms, workbench, lab ideal for tweaking and overclocking starship components. Enthusiasts and professionals seeking to push their weapons, structures, or other upgrades to the limit can do so with atomic precision thanks to the attached accelerator that allows for safe testing of new theoretical limits, raising the bar on component performance as high as possible. Size 2x2. Yeah, this is I own this one and the landing bay. So let's go with Jade. What do you thought about the particle accelerator?
Well, I'm going to start just with, since we're watching it here, how Starjump has it rotating. And in the original, I don't know if you have the original concept art for that module, but they have thrusters attached to the sides. So it's like, spinning, I guess supposed to spin really fast. And it's interesting because like in an actual particle accelerator, they don't spin. It's the particles that circulate inside, right? So this is almost more like a centrifuge looking thing here. And it would be interesting if we could do like centrifuge research along with it, but getting away from how it looks. I think it's going to be amazing. I mean, upgrading weapons, upgrading ship components, this is kind of, the Star Citizen equivalent of a lot of games which allow you to actually make things to sell, like, crafting the actual, we won't be able to make components, but we'll be able to trick them out to be better than anything you could get stock, maybe.
I just posted the picture of one of the original concepts, and I didn't notice that there was thrusters on them. I just thought they were lights, but
they're definitely thrusters.
Yeah. Cool, thank you. Kelosal, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I have nothing to say about this. This is one that I did not get. And I mean, I'm not scratching my head over this because, a lot of people are definitely, out of all the modules, this right here is either the most talked about and the least known about. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting in how they allow people to tune weapons and tune components. I thought another ship was able to do something like that, and that was the Crucible, right? The Crucible should be able to tweak certain components that it may
repair. I don't know about tweaking.
To repair. It does allow you to go ahead
Okay.
and tweak that. So it's almost like a little mini Super Collider I'm interested to see the choice of name change, because originally they had it called the Super Collider, and now I'm hearing it's called the Particle Accelerator. When did they change this?
That's what a super
Is that
a
what a Super
particle.
Collider is?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the super
Okay.
collider was going to be a big particle accelerator. They're the same thing essentially.
Okay, all right, good, because they did say that they were thinking about changing the name.
Yeah, like the Large
right.
Hadron Collider is a
Thanks
super
for the
collider.
follow.
Thanks for
It's
follow.
also a particle
Thanks for
accelerator.
follow.
Right? Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Jade. I didn't know that. But yeah, interesting to see with this one. This may be a big money maker right here. This may be the big money maker for the ship. Because a lot of people.
That's why I have one.
This is going to be the module that has the most impact on the game at large, I think.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I I have the Merchantman, and I have this, the Endeavor, and I have the Super Collider and the Hangar module. My idea was to
Thanks
take
for the
components.
follow.
Thanks for the follow. My idea was to take components, just like I said in the description, overclock them, and sell them on my Merchantman. So I'm the perfect target audience for this.
Yeah.
Dorian, how about you? You playing something similar?
Yeah, and I just wanted to point out that I think anybody who sees an Endeavor with the Super Collider and used in space is probably that Endeavor is going to become a big fat target on the spot, just because I think we're going to get the most beautiful explosions out of that with all that exotic energy floating through there. So that's when you're going to have the equivalent of like green flames. I just think people are going to go out of the way to take those out. But no, this, as I said, this is definitely going to have the most impact on the game at large. I'm curious to see if they're going to require that the components be physically present for enhancement, or if it's something that we make the discovery, patent the process, and then sell it, and then people can apply those changes, in their own workshops. Because I feel like it's going to be extremely cumbersome, and you're going to have an Endeavor running the Super Collider 24/7 if you want to enhance all the shield emitters for shields on your org for an upcoming fleet battle, stuff like that. And maybe that's how they keep this choke point in place, so that everybody's not super enhanced super fast. So I'm curious how that's going to play out.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
My idea was that it's probably going to be like several tiers, like maybe A, B, C, or something like that. Like if you succeed on a enhancement, it may be C, B, A, and or something like that. And I think it would definitely have to have the component inside the that container thing in order for in order for it to change. But and because of that, I think the size of it will probably become humongous. Because imagine like putting a size 9 weapon inside of it and trying to overclock it. So yeah, I could definitely see I think that's gonna be humongous. Kelosal, you gonna say something?
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just basically saying, in reference to what Dorian was saying about the Endeavor being a big, huge target out there. I just want to go ahead and bring that boy in who basically was crying on YouTube saying, "Leave Brittany alone." I want him to do that for the Endeavor. Say, "Leave the Endeavor alone." Because that ship is doing some good work for the galaxy. So there you go.
It's always going to be people who want to see the world burn.
Well, and every Endeavor owner with a brain is going to have a support fleet around. This thing is just going to be too much of a big, fat, juicy target. So you're going to have a support fleet out there to make sure that you can focus on the work and somebody can keep the assholes at bay.
Yeah, my idea would probably be around Terra. That's a beautiful spot right there, provided by Starjump. Thank you for that. All right, so next up, are we good with this Super Collider?
Yeah, I just wanted to make one point based on what I read in the chat. Was I think with something like this, it's not going to be easy mode to upgrade those components. There's going to be a level of risk involved in operating that Super Collider. You might see those big explosions, but they won't be because somebody attacked the ship. It may just be operator error. That's all.
Yeah. Well, and if
Critical
you have to
fail.
have if you have to have the components physically present to do every upgrade, that means these upgrades are going to be intensely expensive.
Risk and
So
reward.
and there's no guarantee it's going to work every time. It's not going to be a manufacturing process. So you have to have a highly controlled environment for these. So I'm dying to see how this is going to look because it's going to be dangerous but exciting.
One more point before we move on to the next one. Can you imagine if it followed the rules of other games or mechanics? Like if you have the component inside the accelerator and trying to overclock it, and if you fail, you brick the module. How expensive or how painful that would be.
And how time-consuming to get it repaired and replaced, and any enhancements you had on it redone. It just, oh my gosh, yeah, it's going to be a desk flipper for sure.
So the service module, Jade, can you take that one for us, please?
Sure. The service equipment and crew enclosure, CEACE or CEACE, adds additional crew facilities to the Endeavor, allowing the workshop module to function as a standalone installation for longer missions or for the overall ship to support additional crew in general.
This is one of the modules I think that, will be handy to have, and I think that's why one of the reasons why I believe that the CIG will allow additional modules to be added on to one Endeavor instead of just having the current method of what they stated before. So, Jay, do you have any thoughts about the service module?
Not really, other than this is support for, the workshop, and it's going to be something that I think that people will, they're going to want probably more if they use their Endeavor for, like a hospital. I think maybe you want those additional people.
And not just the hospital. I mean, for the farm, biome, and stuff like that. So yeah, almost anything.
Yeah. Again, I don't know what that gameplay is going to involve and how much we're going to need people for it. So, obviously, like with the hospital, you're going to need personnel, and potential a lot of personnel maybe in a big hospital like that. So, but yeah, it's going to be an extra crew quarters, and maybe it will help you as far as like servicing the rest of the modules that you have. Like
that's exactly what it's going to be used for. Yeah, that's exactly what it's going to be used for, because they did make a reference towards that in terms there are people asking questions about, can you mix this module with that module and things like that and so forth. And there are some modules that's going to be able to be used as a benefit to another module. So
okay.
So definitely having this type of service module could help in terms of reputation. It could help speed up your reputation. Let's say you bring in some NPCs to help you out. Let's say you bring in you buy some qualified scientific personnel. It's going to be able to not only help expedite it, but make it more efficient, right? Because you got high quality NPCs to help you out, and this would allow that to happen in terms of what you're trying to do, whether it be landing or medical, or with this. I'm thinking in terms of the science pods that you're going to have. So I think this is something that probably is going to be, I would think, is underestimated.
They mentioned the workshop. Would this potentially be used to help you repair a module?
It could, yeah.
Yeah, if you have crew on board for those repairs, yes.
Sounds very useful.
Dorian, so Death to Al said, can we connect a couple of Endeavors to build something like our own mega station? In reference to the service module, how do you like that idea?
I think it's very doable. And they're going to have docking collars, so there's no reason why we couldn't. And if we can connect and network those computing centers on each one, we might have to for some of the bigger discoveries we're going to need to make. One of my not so secret fantasies is I'm hoping we can at some point figure out how to create wormhole weapons where we can temporarily impact jump points, so that if somebody has a fleet moving through a jump point, you can temporarily redirect where it's going to, stuff like that. I think that if they were to give us that level of impact in the game, it would require several endeavors networked together and working for quite a while to make that kind of thing happen.
Imagine connecting multiple super colliders, endeavors with super colliders together, and having the rate of failure decrease with the more you have.
Mm-hmm.
They would have to shrink. They were to shrink that size.
Yeah, and one thing for the service module that I'll be curious about is part of that, if you have NPC crews, you have to have the morale factor. So I'm really curious what those are going to look like. I'm assuming that they're going to be somewhat luxurious, have recreation things built in. I hope to God it's not more pool tables, because I would like to think we're more involved than that in 900 years. But they're going to have kitchens. I'm expecting them to be somewhat nice and luxurious. So I'm just kind of curious to see what that'll look like. And because a happy NPC crew is going to perform better. So I'm hoping that that's something that we see reflected in those modules.
Yes, absolutely. Like beer pong on a medical table.
Yeah, I expect CIG will do what they've done with other ships. Is they'll probably go to places where you have scientists living together, for extended periods of time, and sort of model that after that, because you want them to.
Okay, Kelosal, can you read the telescope module for us, please?
Telescope module, or telescope orbit. From the moment humans first looked to the sky, we have dreamed of learning what lies beyond the stars. The optional telescope array turns the Endeavour into an extremely powerful mobile stellar observatory with an array of instrumentation that allows crews to gather data from the depths of space itself. This data, used for everything from standard nav studies to jump point discovery, can then fetch a premium on the open market. The size is 2x1, the limit is 1 installation, a single telescope per ship.
Dorian, start with you this time. What are your thoughts about the telescope module?
I think this is going to be where one of the things where the Endeavour shines more than other exploration ships, because we'll be able to use that to find jump points from, 1 or 2 systems away. You don't have to be in a star system to find its jump points using the telescope module. I'm also hoping that they give this a somewhat more enhanced installation, something that resembles a superfighter, because otherwise you're going to have to maneuver the ship to point the telescope more precisely. And I just feel like that's pretty cumbersome. I'm also hoping that we'll see some kind of supplemental drones that we can deploy with the telescope. If you just need a slightly bigger dish, or you need to make some kind of special refinements. And I'm hoping that they'll have some kind of drone we can deploy to help with that.
Okay. Jade, what are your thoughts about the telescope module?
Oh wow, I have many. So
this is Jade's world.
Yeah, right. So look at my name. But yeah, looking at this, I'm looking at how Starjump has it, articulating, and yeah, there's going to have to be some type of design so that it can be moved without the ship being moved. Obviously, I mean, it basically could use the same mechanics as the turrets that we have on ships, even with gyro stabilization. I hope that this doesn't just end up being an enhanced jump point scanner, right? Because when I saw this, and I originally, when I read the concept page, I think they refer to it as a multispectral array, and so and that you'd be able to look for anomalies and sell that information. So this is for the science geek, the astronomy geeks, right? So we have all this space, right? And even in 2951, there would still be a lot of stuff that we would be looking to get information on, because we can only go to the systems that have jump points. But when you look at that background of stars, there's way more stars in the galaxy and in the universe than there are ones that have jump points going to it. So astronomy would still be valuable in the 30th century. And I'd hope that they could use this perhaps as a jumping off point to do something similar to EVE Online. And I never played this. I only know about this from a friend that had a thing called Project Discovery, where they tied in, and it's still going on, they tied in a citizen science program where people would do this mini game in EVE, and they could potentially discover an actual exoplanet, or they would basically be looking through photometry, which is a light curve, the intensity of a light source measured by time over time, right? So they'd be looking at that and looking for anything that like stuck out as potentially being a planet transit going, between us and the star. And that information could then be used in the real world by real world astronomers to potentially discover exoplanets. I think that's one of the coolest things I've ever heard about the whole EVE Online, thing. Currently, they're using it to do COVID-19 research, and I think this would present a different view of Star Citizen for a lot of people who may have, only seen, certain articles in certain gaming publications, because this would be enriching humanity potentially, and instead of people talking about how much spaceships cost, they'd be saying, hey, look, this is actually feeding astronomical data or, other discovery-oriented research to the scientific community from a massive, group of people who bought this ship and want to do science in the Star Citizen universe.
Jade, I can't tell whether or not you're excited. No, I'm kidding. You're very excited. Kelosal, go ahead. Okay, Kelosal, what are your thoughts about the telescope array?
I mean, Jade just nailed it. I mean, on the flip side, if I was going to say anything negative, I'm hoping that this is a multifaceted a piece of equipment, because if it's mostly geared towards standard nav studies and freaking jump point discoveries, I'll just jump in the carrot and wait for that cartography to go ahead and open up. So I'm hoping that this does a hell of a lot more than of what Jade suggested, because this is one item that I definitely am interested in. But who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, in the description it says it's a powerful mobile stellar observatory. So it's going to offer a lot more than just finding remote jump points. Star types that are too dangerous for us to approach. Like a magnetar. We can assumably we'll be able to get much better data using the telescope array from a few systems where a few systems away we're not having to jeopardize the safety of our ship and crew to get that research. So this is going to have a much more profound impact. I was just talking about the jump point as kind of a rude and crude example that most people are going to understand, but Jade did a much better job of explaining it, so I bow before her.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Dorian, that's a good point, where it goes back to what we were talking about at the top of the show between basic science and applied science. So jump point discovery would be applied science, whereas finding the closest magnetar would be basic science.
Yes.
So before we move on, I have a quick question regarding the telescope module. So I think we unanimously agree that the Endeavor is going to increase in size. But given that Starjump video that we were showing, I think this module, the telescope module, would probably be the one that would need to increase the least. What do you all think?
It depends on how they want it to look aesthetically. I mean, they're going to go with rule of cool. I like what Starjump did with sort of doing a call out to the James Webb Space Telescope. By the way, it's going to be launching next month, so set your calendars, save the date, cross your fingers. So yeah, I love how they did the gold, plated mirror, and it could be bigger. I mean, but then again, we don't know. It's going to come down to how CIG wants it to look aesthetically, and yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So next up, we're going to talk about the different classes. I forget who I was on. Oh, the Kelosal was the last one.
I didn't read the last
Yeah,
one.
Kelosal was the last one.
Okay. So Dorian, can you read the discovery class, please?
Sure. The Discovery class option includes a variety of multi-purpose labs and storage facilities, a service and crew enclosure, a general research pod, and a general science pod. Standard discoveries are used by disparate groups for everything from mobile medical research to exoarchaeology, with the Explorer as a planetary lander, to less legitimately illegal drug production.
No, not illegal. So
Everything's legal until you get caught.
yeah, right. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, so this is basically just the science and research variant, if you want to call it that. So does anyone particularly think this will be the main class if they decide to go with this? I'm guessing yes.
I think this is going to be a great multi-purpose build for the Endeavor. It's going to have a lot of research possibilities. It's going to be good for the basic down and dirty everyday, science calculations and kind of existence. I think this is a good entry point for people who are excited but don't necessarily have an idea of what they want to do and don't want to spend the $1,000 for the EMS.
So Jade, would that be your primary configuration for your Endeavor?
I think initially, yes, absolutely, because as much as I might want that particle accelerator or the telescope module, I think just figuring out what the gameplay is going to involve, it's probably better to start a bit smaller with what you see there. And I do think this, a lot of people may not know, but I think this will also work in tandem with a ship like the Carrack. They mentioned exoarchaeology, right? So you maybe use your Carrack to find sites for archaeology. Maybe going to some of the planets in the Star Citizen universe that had an extinct civilization. There's several of them, and then you take that up here and you get a more complete picture of what went on. Maybe you can even solve the mystery of how they went extinct.
Oh, cool. Kelosal, you have any thoughts about the Discovery class?
Nope. It is what its name is intended to be. It's a discovery class.
Yeah, just to touch back on what Jade said, this is a good reminder that with the Explorer cab being deployable, it can go down planet side with the Carrack. So the Carrack and its crew finds the things that you need to analyze. The Explorer cab goes down, picks up the samples, and takes it back up to the ship. So this is a good example of the Endeavor being used for exploration missions. But again, I want to really emphasize this ship. The Endeavor should never ever be out exploring systems on its own. It needs to have other ships with it to defend it. And the Carrack would be a great ship to have in tandem, and probably a Starfare to keep them both fueled.
Yeah.
In addition, something good to know: the Explorer ship also has 500 SEU worth of cargo in that Explorer part.
Yes, and they put that in there because that is part of the function of the Explorer cab. Is it goes to places, gets the samples, and takes it back to the exploration or to the platform.
Okay. Any other thoughts before we move on to the next class? All right then, Jade, can you read the Hope class for me, please?
Sure. Dubbed Hope Class by the United Empire of Earth, which uses the design as a troop support ship, the medical variant of the Endeavor comes standard with a medical bay and a landing bay attached.
Jade, use your audible voice for us just now. Thank you for that.
You can do that all the time. All you have to do is request it.
Okay, thanks for letting me know. Does anyone have the Hope class? No, okay. So this is the the hospital variant. I love the name of it, and the look of it is pretty cool too. Provided by Starjump. Anyone have any thoughts, Jade?
Yeah, I think this is going to be by far the most common configuration of this ship that we come across in the universe.
I agree.
Could be. Could be, although there could be a lot more people with that Olympic class. I mean, I'm not one for troop support. I always kept telling my friends, I'm not, damn it, Jim, I'm not a doctor, so, but Jade is right. There could be there are a lot of people out there. I mean, we have one in Soul Citizens that definitely went into this in their professions. So I know she's probably going to be interested in getting this if she was able to get that endeavor. So for you guys that are medical professionals, this is your ship. This is your class.
I think regarding what Jade said about it just being the most popular class or configuration, I don't know. I mean, it could well be, but I think it'll be a tie or a very close tie between the Hope class and someone like hodgepodging it between the two different modules that aren't particularly a class at the moment.
I totally agree. Yeah.
Okay. Next up, we have the Olympic class. Want to read that for us, Kelosal? Or you too busy laughing?
Could I touch back on the Hope? I just wanted to point something out for the Hope class. Again, this is going to be the best, if not only, source for players to get cybernetic enhancement. So it's not just going to be fleet support. It's also going to be cosmetic surgery, surgical enhancement, and where we get our bionics.
Well, what about Biodome? The company Biodome, because isn't that their lore in game is that they provide, surgical enhancements and cybernetics?
Yes, but that's why I pointed out player run.
Okay, yeah, absolutely, player run. Yeah, I totally agree.
Anything else on the Hope class?
No, sorry, I just wanted to throw that out there.
No problem. No, thank you. Kelosal, Olympic class, please.
Let me straighten out my face since fastcart wants to talk about me smiling and laughing.
I'm just messing around, man. It's fine. It's cool.
All right,
I'm glad I caught you at a jovial moment.
You're doing good, buddy. All right, so the Olympic class is constructed primarily for the pursuit of agricultural science. The Olympic class endeavor includes 2 sets of biodome pods for a total of 4 completely self-contained farming environments.
Or the party station, but disco ball going on in each of those 4. But no, do you have any thoughts about the Olympic class, Kelosal?
I mean, this is one of those ships that I was saying in contrast to the Hope class that I felt that this could challenge that in terms of who's going to be doing what with what class the most, because as far as I know, there are a lot of people out there who are the Cletuses of the world. If you don't know who Cletus is, you can check out Burt Black and things like that. That go ahead and that like to farm and like to cook and like to build taverns and things like that. So there are a lot of those people out there. I mean, heck, we have one in Test who likes to build all the time. So this could be one of those. I think these are one of these classes where they're I don't think they're underestimated, but I think there are a lot more people who do this than you think.
Dorian, any thoughts about the Olympic class?
No, I think we're going to see a lot of these out there. It's going to be used obviously for a lot of food, but again, going back to pharmaceutical and medical research, and I think we're going to see these be far more diverse. As I had mentioned earlier in the show, I think we're going to see a lot of exotic biomes be able to be replicated in there. Whether it's going to be underwater, deep sea. I'm hoping that they'll let us toy with the gravity a little bit, just because I've read something years ago where they talk about, like, if you were to raise bamboo in like 4 times the gravity of Earth, that bamboo could be stronger than steel. So let us play with organics. I think that these are going to be extremely diverse and really powerful. And of course, phase read.
Of course. So Jade, it was mentioned before, like the Olympic class or specifically the Biodome, you can raise different plants and crops under different types of stars. How much protecting do you think these things will make if you want to go into Pyro or Levski, for example?
Well, if you're taking this into Pyro-Levski, I mean, you definitely would want to have an escort. I was thinking, before you even asked that question, I was thinking about the domes themselves. What are they constructed of? If they are constructed of the same diamond laminate glass that are, cockpit and bridge glasses, they're going to be worth quite a lot to a pirate. Because that stuff that's why our ships aren't made of it. It's super tough, but it's super expensive, right? And so that answers the question, well, how come our whole ship isn't made of it? Because it's super expensive. And that's a lot of that diamond laminate, if that's what that is.
Yeah.
So no, I would never take that to Pyro. You can take it into Nyx. You can take it into Nyx, But they have a bit of
long.
Yeah, they have their own law in Nyx, and they have people that enforce it. But I would say that, again, these domes, I believe, are a big attraction to this ship because they elicit the imagination of what you can do in them. And, being able to raise crops, being able to perhaps create an alien environment or, keep an alien zoo or, have, like he said, a 0G or greater than 1G environment in there. That all would be amazing. And I would love for CIG to elaborate a little bit when they start talking about science gameplay as to the possibilities of these zones.
Jade, I'm going to put back a little bit on that. I don't think it's diamond laminate. I think it's transparent aluminum. I'm bringing it back to Star Trek.
Yeah. So the diamond laminate is the transparent aluminum.
Transparent aluminum is where that all started. So that's
exactly.
OG.
Okay.
Fastcart, just to add one more thing to the great things that Dorian and Jay have been saying. One of my friends at Test, Nihilus, he's always big on this one word, and we see it dealing with this ship is analytics.
Yes.
I mean, you're going to definitely be using analytics dealing with this type of class, definitely, because just like Dorian said, with all the different types of lucrative products that'll be available with this, you got seeds, you got plants that only grow once. You can't let it grow. You can't get it to grow again. In other words, you got to get another seed to go ahead and get that thing to grow again. So don't be surprised if there's a lot of money dealing with this type of class because of the analytics and because of the type of potential sales that you may get from the type of rare objects or rare items that you may get from this. Don't be surprised. This could be a big money venture here.
Well, and not just the things that, we put into it, but we're going to be, creating our own GMOs. We're going to be genetically modifying these things and coming up with our own hybrids, if not creating new species ourselves. So, this is, I feel like I sound like a broken record every time I say this, but the Endeavor is going to have such a profound impact on gameplay at large. And even coming back to our food or pharmaceuticals, people should not underestimate how powerful this ship is going to be. It's not powerful like a javelin. This, it's not the sword. This is the pen.
Nice.
Good point.
All right. Any final thoughts on the Olympic class? All right, I'm going to take the master set. Master set. The Endeavor master set includes one of each module currently available. Note that modules will be stored in the hangar while not in use. Ooh. The master set cannot launch with all included modules active simultaneously. Cannot launch. So the concept prices, I'm going to go ahead and go through each one. So the Endeavor started out at $350. That is correct. They got a question mark in there, but that's accurate. They started at $350. The Biodome Agriculture 2x1 2 set 4 dome per set came was $100 or is $100. The fuel and cargo 2x1 was $35. All this is in US dollars, by the way. The research science to income 2x1 was $45. The science 2x1 is $45. The landing and ship stores, and spawn is 2x1. One per ship is $75. The medbay, respawn and heal is 2x2, one per ship due to size, $75. The service module, crew capacity, 2x1, $25. Super collider, overclocking, 2x2, one per ship due to size, $125. Telescope, point of interest discovery, science, 2x1, one per ship, $125. So, as far as I know, none of those prices have changed. On the screen, we see the we see each module listed. Can someone
they sound pretty accurate.
explain? Yeah, except for the Biodome. That was for the old master set was $950. The new master set, which is $1,000 US, comes with 2 Biodome.
Correct.
So can someone explain what the difference between 2x1 and 2x2 is?
2x1 means it's 2 up top, 1 underneath.
Correct.
Or if it's 2x2, it's 2 on top and 2 on the bottom. And when I say on top or bottom, I mean the module points on the platform.
Right. Two per module, basically. 2 per slot. That's what
And currently it's 3x3. So you can have a 2x2 and so that's how they're able to limit how many modules you can fit on there.
And that's what a lot of people are hoping or expecting it'll be increased when the Endeavor actually comes out and be bigger.
Yeah, I had to laugh because that point where they say the set cannot launch with all included modules active simultaneously. I mean, just imagine how big that is, and imagine how expensive that would be to fuel. I mean, you would have to have a second EMS to sell just to fuel the first one.
You have to daisy chain them together to pull one. What were you going to say, Kelosal?
I mean, that's a grand total of 24 slots with the master set. A grand total of 24 slots. So, I mean, geez, that's a lot, but
that's 8 times bigger. So,
right.
This is a ship that you would measure in kilometers, not meters.
Correct. And fortunately, each of these modules you will have to get from a space station. You couldn't even when you dock the ship, you have to separate the ship from the actual. You have to separate the Explorer from the drive in order to, and as far as persistence.
Yes, and I'm not sure if they're going to change this, but I wanted to point out that you can't change these modules at any space station. You have to go to the specific company to get the modules changed around. So it's not something we can just change the loadout in our hangars and have it come through. So a lot of time and effort and thought has to go into how you get these set up. You're not going to be able to change it on the fly. So once your 10 jumps out from this company, you're in for the long haul. You're not going to be able to just change this out easily.
Right.
And I doubt Cousin Crow's Custom is going to actually do this.
You never know.
But maybe.
Even if they could, I'm not sure you'd want them to, because I feel like there's some quality concern issues there.
My biodomes into nightclubs, because that's what they got their name doing. Well, not that specific thing, but they converted the Crusader, the big passenger transport, the Genesis Starlighter, into a party bus. So that's where you take your biodome to become a nightclub.
Right.
Okay. So the one thing I noticed, I didn't notice before, or maybe I saw it and forgotten, but it said the note the modules will be stored in the hangars while not in use. I'm like, that's gonna be a big ass hangar if you're gonna have those modules stored in a hangar when it's not in use.
No, the modules won't be stored in hangars. It'll be the Explorer, right? The modules will be stored just like Dorian said in either stations or some type of specific area. But
you're not going to be carrying them.
Yeah.
So, and also something to point out that for the hangar, I think there have been some indications that you're not going to be able to spawn ships there. It's going to be something because of the nature of the of how the hangar bay works. You're going to have the ship physically there, and it's not going to despawn once it's in the hangar, so you're not going to be spawning it. Once it's in there, it's in there. So they could change how that works, but a lot of people have looked at it like, hey, we can load 10 cutlasses in there and have them ready to spawn out. And unfortunately, I can't remember where I saw that, but I remember reading something that kind of flagged my memory that it's something we're pointing out to people. It will have a very limited capacity.
I'm sorry, Dorian. I just put it in chat. The specific section that was in, I believe, Q&A 2 from the Endeavor in terms about what's going to persist and what's not going to persist and things like that. So that's just a statement from one of the questions, an answer from one of the questions that's in Q&A 2.
Right, and that's one of the things that I unfortunately I have the bad habit of not remembering where I see things. But I thought I read something that has evolved since that QA came out in 2015.
Oh, good. I would love to see that when you get a chance to find it.
So, so it said that it was going to be in the hangar, but now it's no longer in the hangar. So, can you guess as to why they changed that?
I would guess just because logistically it doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what made me say ooh when I read it. Like, that's a lot. All right.
Maybe they just want players to go ahead and be able to,
I think that.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Kelosal.
Go ahead, buddy. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I'm so sorry, guys. I have a really bad habit of interrupting. I've just been kind of a jerk all my life that way.
No, go ahead. Usually, if I'm lost in thought, I'll let you go.
So I feel like this all comes back to Chris Roberts' desire and drive to have things as realistic as possible. Logistic things have to make sense. There has to be a reason for the mechanic to work before we're going to see it allowed.
Okay. That's fair. Thank you.
I have final thought on the whole master set thing. If you have a master set, I think you should just go ahead and buy one more Endeavor.
Or two.
Make full use of it.
Or two.
Yeah. I've started buying regular Endeavors just so I can field all the modules at once. And let me tell you, that's an expensive drug habit.
I could totally see that. Yeah.
I actually have, like, the last time the Endeavor was available on sale, I bought 2 CCUs. I think it was Gemini Starfare 2 Endeavor for $10 each, because I know that thing is going to increase in price. So I'm trying to hedge my bet. So if anyone plays a CCU game and it never stays 350, definitely pick up a CCU or two if you can afford it, and just use store credit. Because you'll save a lot of money if something later on comes along that higher price than 350.
I was just going to say another thing about these real world prices for the modules. I personally, and everybody's different, just looking at how there is this big difference between small vehicle prices and what we pay for them in game in UEC versus like a bigger ship. Again, I will wait to buy these modules in game because I don't know what they're going to cost in UEC, but I know what they cost in dollars, and I don't know that it's the best value for that money, but that's just me. So,
I think part of the value in buying them now is you're going to have, I think we're going to have a significant faction grind with multiple factions to be able to buy these modules or ships in game. Because of the impact the Endeavor will have on gameplay, I think there's going to be a lot of hoops to jump through before you're even eligible to buy them.
I don't doubt that at all. I'm just thinking, like, as somebody who doesn't want to short circuit that gameplay, because I mean, everybody's different. That's why I said everybody's different. Some people will want just, skip that and go and get that module. But I think like that grind, I don't necessarily consider it a bad grind if I have to work up my science reputation with, the ICC or some science group in order to get access to the particle accelerator.
Sure. Yeah, and even though I have all of these, I plan on going through that grind myself just because I know that there will be additional rewards to it. But I'm kind of like a dog with a pork chop. If I have it, I'm going to eat it now. I'm not going to wait for it.
one of the things they talk about on the Starjump episode was like, they made the argument that buying modules isn't really worth it because they'll probably be a lot cheaper to buy them in game when it actually comes out. So if you see something like the Biodome module is like $100, converting that into in-game UEC would probably be. I'm not going to assign a number to it, but it'll probably be a lot cheaper or more efficient to get it in game rather than pay $100 for it. So you can go either way on that.
I'm going to choose Dorian's method of being a dog with pork chop. I mean, because listen, I'm just gonna give you a nice little quote, and this is coming from a singer, by the way, from Josh Kaufman. He says, "By making offers modular, the business can create and improve each offer in isolation. Then mix and match offers as necessary to better serve their customers. It's like playing with Legos. Once you have a set of pieces to work with, you can put them together in all sorts of interesting ways." Okay, so this is definitely a good quote for the Endeavor because, like I said, she's the dark horse of all ships. You can do almost anything, and there are a lot of other modularities that we don't even know about
Right.
Yeah.
that they have. I'm quite sure they have. So I'm excited about this.
These are the only ones that are officially listed. They must have several others that we have no clue about.
Yeah, I think we'll see more modules go on sale, but I also, before, just totally lost my word. We're going to see more of them deployed for sale, but I'm also pretty confident just because they're going to want us to be motivated to still do those faction grinds in game. I think there will be some modules we can only get in game for the Endeavor. So don't be surprised if that happens.
Yeah. All right. So next up, we have viewer questions. So Golden Triangle asks, "Would the Explorer cab be changed to allow it to jump, since a jump drive needs to attach to a quantum drive to begin with?"
Nope.
Colossus, you're taking your head. Go ahead.
Nope. They're not going to do that. At least that's from
Why?
Q&A. They're not going to do that because there are other, just like I'm just going to, and I'm paraphrasing Jared here. Every ship does something different. Okay, so if you want a ship that can jump, get a ship that can jump. The Endeavor's Explorer cab does not, and it will not, because once again, there are other ships like the Carrack and things like that. Because a lot of people look at the Explorer cab and they try to compare that to the Carrack. Whereas both of them are exploration ships, but once again, one can do more things than the other can. That's the whole reason why the Endeavor is different. So just like Jared says, every ship is different.
Yeah, and this is it's intended to be. The design is very intentional this way.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
And I'm fine with that.
Yeah, me too. So this is our second and final question that we have so far at the moment. So this is a biggie, and probably take 5 minutes to talk about it by itself. How much do you guys think the base will end up costing? So it's currently at $350. It's been $350 all this time for about 6 years. What do you think the base will end up costing? Not the master class, just the base.
Can I go?
Sure,
Yeah, go ahead.
Jade.
Yeah, I think it's going to depend on how much work they have to put into it, which to resize it. But I would say, like I've said about the Banu Merchantman, it's a great value right now. It's going to go up significantly, and it would not shock me if it was in the Idris range, so like $1,300
For the base?
I agree.
for the base. For the base.
All right.
I see the EMS being Javelin priced in comparison once that rework happens. Because this ship is going to evolve and grow so much.
Yeah, for the base, it's currently $350. It's going to go well over $700. I don't know about $1,300, $1,000 easily for the base.
Yeah, 1,000 easily.
In that range. That's what. Yeah, 1,000 at the 1,300 would be tops for me.
Colossal?
She's less money than the Pioneer right now. So
less money than the Pioneer. So the Pioneer is $750, I think.
Right. So I agree with Jade. I agree with Dorian. She's going to be somewhere up around $800 to $900. There's another ship that's more than her, by the way. So yeah, she's got to jump up there, guys. I mean, it sucks. But
No,
she's
it doesn't. I want this to be an exclusive ship. I do not want this ship in the hands of everyone.
But yeah, she's gonna skyrocket up there. Pull out your purses.
So we got another question from Max Zoe. Do you think the Endeavor can be the future mobile-based players want? Do you think the Endeavor can be the future mobile-based players want?
Yes.
Anyone?
Can
Yes and
I
no.
start with that?
Also, then Dorian.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I just jumped in. I'll start with it because
No, no problem.
what I wanted to mention was I think if, in my mind, there were, along with that question, there were other people like me that were asking questions on, well, are you going to go ahead? We're getting habitats on the planets and the moons. Can we get habitats in space? Why can't this ship be that? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if people would use multiple Endeavors as like their own mobile space station in a certain area. Wouldn't be surprised if one person was using their Endeavor for a landing dock, another person was using their other Endeavor right next to it as a hospital wing, hospital hub. Another person was using right next to it as some type of with the Olympic class and things like that. I would not be shocked if orgs were using multiple Endeavors as their own multiple space station, mobile space station.
Dorian, then Jade.
I think it depends on the use. Can you? Yes, absolutely. It has the modules where you could, keep 25 to 50 people on there if you wanted to. But is it a good use of the ship? Is it a good value? That's debatable. So short answer is yes and no.
Maybe.
Exactly. It depends on application and your intent.
Right.
You could use it as a Trojan horse if you wanted to. Is that a good use of it? That's arguable.
Jade, what are your thoughts? Mobile base station that people want?
My thoughts are being that they're still releasing concept ships that, for now it looks like it would be a good choice, but I think there's going to probably be a better choice for that particular role that's released. It depends on what you want, like what you and your friends or your org are into. If you're heavily exploration and science-based org, absolutely. I don't necessarily think it's like, a good like command control type, mobile base, but it's definitely something that if you have another ship that you're using as a mobile base, perhaps like a Javelin, you'd want one of these alongside for the hospital modules.
Okay. All right. Cool. Thank you. I just want to thank everyone for joining us. Jade, Kelosal, Dorian, Jade and Kelosal are regulars here at Soul Citizen. But Dorian, can you tell us where people can find you again, please?
Sure. So I'm the organization leader for the Interstellar Order of Belize. IOOT, IOOT is our ticker on Spectrum. You can also find me Yacht Club. My org is part of the umbrella of the Yacht Club organization, so jump into Yacht Club chat, and you can always find me on our network chat there.
And Jade, where can people find you?
People can find me here at Soul Citizens and on Soul Talk. You can always come in and join us. Any of you in chat that want to come in and talk with us on Thursdays, we are here. And we talk Star Citizen. And I am also the program director of the People's Radio. And occasionally I even DJ under the name DJ Sky.
Which base? I just want to say thank you for the follow and thank you for the 5 subscription. Thank you. Kelosal, where can people find you?
First of all, I want to go ahead and mention to everybody and tell everybody a happy Thanksgiving. I hope everybody is safe in the next week to follow. Jade, have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Fastcart,
Thank you.
Dorian, you have a great Thanksgiving. Griff, we know you're listening, buddy. You definitely need to have a restful and great Thanksgiving. You'll find me here with Soul Citizens, or you'll find me with Test Squadron or out in the verse creating havoc. But I do want to go ahead and close off this monitor really quickly because I just want to go ahead and let everybody know that the Rowdies will be playing on Sunday at the championship match. So if you want to see Tampa Bay continue on being the championship city that we are destined to be, watch that game on Sunday. Go Rowdies. Have a wonderful break, everybody.
Is that a sports thing again? The Poet, thank you for the subscription.
Wait,
And Puppet Master, thank you for the follow.
Colossal,
What were
is
you
that a
gonna say,
Rowdy's jersey that you have on?
This
'Cause
is
it's like,
a Rowdy's
it's green
jersey.
and it's green and yellow. It looks like
Yep.
yeah. Okay, I
Got it.
thought so. I thought so.
Yep. Rowdy it up.
I just want to say thank everyone for watching. You can find us on Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern, 3 a.m. UTC for Soul Talk, where we talk with the community and people can just come in and chat with us in Discord. And join us for our next episode on next Sunday. We're talking about IAE 2951 review, 8 p.m. Eastern. That'll be 1 a.m. UTC. So check us out for that. Appreciate it. With that, we're going to be rating to Yo-Yo Mag. So I send him my love and tell him he came from Soul Citizen. And with that, I want to say we'll be on Yacht Club on Wednesday at 10 p.m. Griffin and I will be on Yacht Club. And Griffin will also be on the Capping Table next Saturday, 6 p.m. Eastern. It'll be 11 p.m. UTC. So with that, thank you for everyone for watching, and peace, love, and soul. And thank you again, Starjump.
Yep. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
What's up, Adam? Wait, raid?